I have something to kind of say in the beginning, but it's not really like a joke. It's just like a fun thing I noticed.
Go ahead.
Well, the episode started.
Wait, see, I don't have... Guys, I could say a fun fact in the beginning of the episode if we want.
Don't worry.
Sure.
We'll cut everything up into your fun fact.
I'll be the one cutting, so no one knows.
That's
so
true.
A fun fact, because like, okay, this is our Nicolas Cage episode, right? Welcome everybody.
Bracket. It's not just one episode. It's 4 of them.
You're right. Actually, before my fun fact, nipples. All right, let's start the show.
Hello and welcome everybody. We're the Tough Cut Podcast, and I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Jake.
And today we are hopping into our new bracket. It is the Nicolas Cage bracket.
Hell yeah. I also noticed we say the word hop too much. We really are James Marsden fans.
I think it's ingrained in
that's
our heads now. I think it's all of us. We all say hop.
That's fair.
We're a hoppy little bunch.
I say hop literally every episode because every single time I'm like, so should we hop into discussing these? Hop into these movies? Hop into the bracket? Hop, 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 hop.
I can't wait till we talk about hop. Guys, fun fact though. Okay, this is the Nicolas Cage bracket. And as I was like watching these films and looking up stuff, it always happens something like this happens. Do you guys know what Nicolas Cage's next movie is?
No.
It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And yeah, it's literally Nicolas Cage starring as Nicolas Cage, an actor unable to turn down a paid gig who finds trouble when a superfan turns out to be a violent drug lord. With his family's life on the line, Cage becomes various characters from his filmography in order to save the day.
That sounds awesome. And I cannot wait to put it in a bracket for this show.
Holy shit. Like, it's already
That's
my honorable
so
mention and it's
funny.
not out yet.
It's pretty crazy how much Nicolas Cage has been in the news the last few days. I feel like he got married. Then there were suddenly a bunch of stories again about his crippling
He
debt.
got married?
Yeah, he just got married to like a 20-year-old or something.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
What? No.
That's a joke. That's a joke. It also mostly at Leonardo DiCaprio's expense because he doesn't date women older than like
27, I think. Or
27. Yeah.
26, 27.
That's his cliff.
I mean, to be fair, neither have I.
You're not wrong. I guess I could. Can I say that?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I could say that as well.
I hate you. That's so cursed. All right. I've realized we never explain the show, which makes sense for episodes 2, 3, and 4 of a bracket. But if you're starting with this one in the show, we pick a theme, we do a bracket, 8 movies enter, and we fight our way to the end of it for the best, the king, queen, or anything in between.
This bracket, I feel like, is going to be really, really disorienting. I don't know how you guys watch the movies. I watched 3 of them in a row today, and it was so disorienting going straight from one movie into another with all of them being Nicolas Cage. It was pretty wild.
Yes. So while I do recommend like everyone who's listening to like watch the movies beforehand, if you can, I don't know if I'd recommend watching Nicolas Cage movies back to back to back like this.
I recommend it, on the other hand. I think it heightens the experience.
If you want to do that, just watch The Sorcerer's Apprentice over and over again.
All right.
What we want to say before we go into this is that we will be spoiling these movies and possibly other movies. So a big spoiler warning. And on that note, we also want to throw out a content warning. This is Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage really delves into like genre, really gritty stuff. There is child violence in Kick-Ass, a lot of graphic violence in the other movies. There is workplace harassment / sexual assault and sexual harassment in Vampire's Kiss. And there is some depictions, pretty graphic depictions of a car accident. 2 car accidents actually in Adaptation. So we want to throw out a content warning just in case you are going to watch those movies. We probably won't be talking too explicitly about those moments, but it will be something that could potentially be addressed and it will be in your viewing. So yeah, just a heads up, guys.
With that, coming at you in this episode, first up, we've got National Treasure versus Kick-Ass. Then in the second half of the episode, we've got Adaptation versus Vampire's Kiss. So with that, Alex, do you want to introduce National Treasure, or did you have something else you wanted to say?
Absolutely. No, that is exactly what I was going to say. National Treasure, directed by John Turteltaub and released in 2004.
Turteltaub?
It's Turteltaub?
Oh
That's
my,
his name,
it is
yeah.
Turteltaub.
Wait, isn't that the BoJack Horseman like producer character?
Probably based on the real life Turteltaub.
Holy shit. I
That's
don't know.
pretty wild.
Either way, that's a badass last name.
He made the Meg.
Okay, that's
the Meg.
I think that's
I
negative
fucking
points.
love the Meg.
And Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Turtle Tob, I hope you're a Gore Verbinski fan. Let's all get lunch.
So National Treasure is the wannabe Da Vinci Code meets Indiana Jones, following Ben Gates, an embarrassed American historian, as he races a villainous treasure hunter to find the Freemasons' lost treasure hoard and redeem his family name. I hadn't seen this movie in many, many years, and I remember seeing it when it first came out in theaters. And I loved this movie. And rewatching it, I still enjoyed it a lot, but I think I enjoy it because of the genre, like solving puzzles, finding treasure. Like, I love Indiana Jones. I love Da Vinci Code. And so I think that's what I remember this movie being, was like, oh, it's like Da Vinci Code. And it like kind of is. It wants to be really badly. And it does in moments get there, I think.
Good comps, though. Those are good comps.
Yeah. I like this movie still. I think it's still a fun watch. What'd you guys think?
No, you seem so concerned about being like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I had fun with it. I think I'd mentioned to you guys before we hopped into this bracket that I like weirdly have somehow managed to rewatch this movie multiple times in like each year, the past like 2 or 3 years. I don't really understand how it happens, but like it, it's like one of those things you're like flipping stuff on TV and you click to it and it's like, yeah, I'll like hang out and watch National Treasure. So like, is it a masterpiece? Probably not, but is it pretty fun? Yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit, Matthew, that was a year ago almost to date that we watched National Treasure. Like that was the beginning of the pandemic when we sat down and watched it.
We watched the first one a little bit before that. And we watched the second one at basically a year ago. Around
oh my
today.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is also one I was telling Alex a little bit before we started recording, but I've seen this a lot more times than I thought I have. I have this pretty like down pat. I was like, because I'm getting ready to move and start a job. Guys who've been following, I got a job, right? Woo! It's temporary, but it's still a job. So hell yeah. But so it's been a little crazy. So I was debating whether or not to watch this one because I know I've seen a bunch. But then I was like, no, I have to watch all the movies. It's just like in my brain that I have to. But I beforehand doing notes, like I remember so much about this movie and just like so many details. Like I could probably recite this movie pretty well. Like if someone needed a plot summary, someone needed Spark Notes for their film essay that they're doing on Nick Cage movies when they're researching, doing if you're listening to the Tough Cut podcast, you're writing your essays on film. You're like, I need a credible source. Obviously, we're the first ones they think of. Contact us at toughcutpod@gmail.com and we'll write your essay for you.
And honestly, somehow I feel like we need to take advantage of our strong knowledge of this movie and like, I don't know, like recreate the scenes from memory or something dumb. I think that would be really funny.
I do have a story about it, but I will introduce the movie it's going up against first, and then we could get a little bit more into it, unless you had other thoughts about it. The movie that it's going up against is Kick-Ass, 2010 by Matthew Vaughn, inspired by his love of comics. Teenager Dave Lazowski? What's his name? Dave.
Something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Teenager Dave, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
He goes by Kick-Ass.
And he decides to reinvent himself and be a superhero despite having no powers. He runs into some bad guys and some other heroes, and fun, punchy punch, wildness is the result. That's basically the movie, based on an actual comic. So, woo.
Wildness is the result.
This was one of those like fever dream, 2010s, like when superhero movies were trying to find their real footing. Like you had successes, like obviously like Dark Knight was out, Iron Man had just started and all that stuff. But people were all trying to get on that sweet, sweet gravy train that is the superhero genre. And then this movie came out and I think Watchmen came out the same year and people were like, oh God,
really?
Violence. So yeah, it's just like I have such fond memories of Nicolas Cage's role in this movie and Chloe Grace Moretz, honestly, too.
They're both really good.
Wild movie. So what do you guys think?
I hadn't seen this movie in a really, really long time. And I was really surprised because I remembered Nicolas Cage was like the dad superhero, but I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed his character.
Big Daddy.
He really was such a convincing, cheesy dad that then would just flip of the switch be just like the flip of a switch, be like the dark brooding Batman character. Very fun.
Similarly, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. It was a fun rewatch. However, my brain was, more than anything, I last saw this in middle school, was plagued with thoughts of the fact that it was a middle school teacher of mine, a woman, who recommended this movie to me, which, being an adult now, in context of this film, especially, a main character that at least briefly lusts after his teacher.
Yeah.
Put like a weird meta thing in my brain of like, I had a teacher recommend me a movie where the main character is hot for his teacher. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up.
Was this at the farm?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Yeah. I won't go into details what I meant by the farm, but Matthew grew up in a lab. Anyway.
The farm at Langley. I'm a trained assassin, essentially.
Oh my gosh.
Something that was pretty crazy that I noticed was Aaron Taylor Johnson and Evan Peters are both in this movie. We got both Quicksilvers in one world. Pretty wild. If you think of Marvel movies.
Which is, just talk about Aaron Taylor Johnson and then Chloe Grace Moretz. And then you also have Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
Yeah.
What was up with these people and their triple ass names in this, like, the 2010 genre of comedy and stuff? What is that shit? Why did they have to have 3 names? Pick one. Why couldn't they Beyonce it? I just, I don't know. It really bothered me when the credits rolled and it took up so much space, guys. Like, pick one. Pick one. Aaron Taylor Johnson. You have 3 first names. Get over yourself. Sorry.
Nice.
We can talk about the bimbofication of Aaron Taylor Johnson now because have you guys seen him lately?
Excuse me, himbofication.
Oh, okay. You're right. No, hey, you're right. I know you're a pro on this subject. Actually, I'll defer to you, Matthew. Can you tell us about the himbofication of Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I mean, other than the fact that my man is very handsome, I can't speak much to his recent roles. So if he's been archetypally cast as the himbo, I don't know necessarily. But he's a good-looking guy, so I get it. But also, that is a very reductive view of the actor, if that is the case.
I think the last thing I saw Aaron Taylor Johnson in was the first of the new Godzilla movies. Mm-hmm. I think that was the last thing I saw him do.
Yeah.
What else is that? That was fun. That was a good movie.
Yeah, that was the last major. He was in Tenet, which I didn't see.
He was also, when was Age of Ultron?
Was that more recent than? I don't remember when.
2014, right?
Sure. So yeah, Age of Ultron then.
It was so jarring watching this movie. Also, fun fact, my brother, when he was in high school, looked exactly like Aaron Taylor Johnson does in this movie. Almost to a T. He would be called wild. Aaron Taylor, like Kick-Ass when it came out when he was in high school. He looked exactly like him. But also in the next movies, like Kick-Ass 2 and also like Quicksilver stuff, he's just so much more jacked. And it's almost scary how beefy he gets.
I mean, my boy got big and then he decided he never wanted to go back to being small.
He was big in this movie though too, I noticed. They put him in a lot of baggy clothes to make him look scrawny, but he was his thighs were so beefy in that suit. I don't know if you guys saw. It looked like they were stuffed with pillows.
Look, I am basically the expert on such a subject, and look, my boy got jacked and he decided he wanted to live his life as a big boy instead of a little boy. So, he's not gonna drop back down for a role if they're like, hey, we want you to be a lanky teen again. He's like, no thanks. You're gonna make me a buff teen instead.
Yeah.
Speaking of him playing a teen, what did you guys think of his voice? Was his voice needlessly high and squeaky?
Didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, it was just so it seemed jarring to me also, Alex. It was very you're a teen in high school and you're awkward. How do you sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair, I guess. Should we jump a little more explicitly into actually comparing these two? Because we've just really talked about Kick-Ass at this point.
Well, we just talked about how beefy Aaron Taylor Johnson is. I want to talk about character intros, actually, in these two movies, because I think they're both kind of fun.
Okay.
Nicolas Cage in National Treasure, amazing role that he did. Awesome casting. Whoever casted him for this, he isn't, even though he isn't full Cage in this film that you were used to from his older films, Vampire's Kiss or whatever that we'll get into, it's still a bonkers subject and still a Cage-esque film. but it's like a tame, but like the wild as Disney could get. And just doing the whole heist and adventure and him driving in the ice and then like talking as a little kid about America and history is like super fun. But then in Kick-Ass, you have him literally like, you're going to be fine, baby doll, and shooting this little girl.
It's awesome.
Holy shit. What? I don't know. What do you guys think about these like intros of the characters? Because it just like blows my mind how wild, how this shows like the range of Nick Cage, right?
I think it starts to get into some of his range, but I do think if you like really boil the characters down to some of their mannerisms, I do think that there is almost this like underlying similarity between the two that I can kind of draw parallels. And most of that, I think, comes from the fact that I perceive both of these characters as being very set in the fact that their path is the right path forward, you know?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
true. There's an arrogance about them. Yeah.
Yeah, like that almost kind of assholey arrogance, I think, it plays into both a little bit.
I think the thing that amazes me most about Nicolas Cage's introduction in Kick-Ass is I really think he pulls off a mustache. I think not many people can pull off a mustache. His mustache in this movie is so perfect for his character. It is like it heightens his character so much in such a great way. He epitomizes the dad.
His character is supposed to be he is this cop dad, and I think like the mustache.
I'm cop dad.
Yeah, like a comic book cop dad, you know?
Yeah. In contrast, I think the first scene with Nicolas Cage in National Treasure is one of the few scenes that I really remembered from the movie. I remember three things from the movie. I remember the snow explosion. I remember stealing the Declaration of Independence. And I remember Riley getting the little kid to go get the letters for the code. Those are the three scenes that I consistently remember. I have no idea why.
I don't know, man.
Want to know what one of mine is, no matter what? Lemons. When they pull out the shot of just lemons to crack the code behind. I don't know why, for some reason, whenever anyone talks about invisible ink, I always been like, lemons, that's the key.
Something really fun, pretty amazing. On the National Treasure, for like the Wikipedia page for the movie, they have a section that's portrayal of Declaration of Independence, where they have a two sentences that are like, the film suggests the original Declaration of Independence still has clearly visible ink is inaccurate, which I think is so fun.
So funny.
Somebody felt compelled enough by the fact that the ink was visible on the document in general that they were like, this needs to be on the Wikipedia page for the movie. I find this air egregious.
That's so funny.
Did anyone try stealing the Declaration of Independence after this movie?
Probably.
Did anyone go to the Bell and look for that brick? I would have done it if I was near. I want to look for that brick. Give me those glasses. You know?
I mean, if you're saying in general, have people tried to pull off heists? The answer is yes.
No, specifically with the Declaration of Independence. I'm not questioning the existence of heist movies or just heist in general. You should know, out of all people, how dare you ask me, a professional heist? Anyway, what are we talking about?
It's a temporary gig.
Guys, I got employed recently at a temporary gig. I'm making a move soon.
I'm gonna say I'm not sure, mostly because I don't even know how you would go about trying to act in real life, pull off a heist of the scale.
You wait for the gala to come, and then you befriend the lady archivist,
and
then you
get it
go
sent
in
down into the archival rooms in the basement, and then you just like sneak down there. Yeah, you just play it off exactly as it's portrayed in the movie. Easy peasy.
But like, you think about it. If there wasn't a bad guy, then like Nicolas Cage just would have been like stealing this movie, then they wouldn't have someone to go to jail. He's the bad guy in this, right?
Oh, no, that's something I think is so wild is the fact they have the conversation at the end of the movie where he's talking to the guy from the FBI, and they tab the little, he like places his hand in such a way that Nick Cage can clearly see the signet ring on his finger, and they take the shot of it. You know, it's like a Freemasons thing. And I'm like, oh, this is literally two people that consider themselves part of the same cult planning another man to be the fall guy for one's crimes. Like, that's literally what's happening.
It's repeated. It's like, somebody's got to go to prison. It's like, who the fuck are they going to get? Gary Busey? Like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, no,
Oh my God.
it's something I never got as a child watching this movie. There is obviously a very patriotic film. There is a lot of Freemasons, Order of the Templars, almost indoctrination of like, man, these organizations were so cool.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit wild to me.
I think they really dig in on Benjamin Franklin specifically. So much of the stuff is Benjamin Franklin centric, which is so funny to me because obviously he's a founding father, but he wouldn't be the one that I would normally pick, I guess. Although I don't know which one I would pick, but I think it's funny that they pick him specifically because Nicolas Cage's character is Benjamin Franklin Gates.
So fucking, I forgot about that. That's literally in my notes. I was like, they really named this motherfucker Benjamin Franklin. Like,
yeah.
Come on, Disney. Oh my God.
I guess he's the least problematic.
I was going to say, like, this movie is clearly American U.S. history propaganda, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
But also, is there a National Treasure ride? I think that'd be kind of fun. Or like a maze or a game.
Someone should make an escape room themed about this. Something that would be crazy that somebody, maybe one exists. If not, someone should take this idea and run with it. Instead of like an escape room where you're like trying to leave a place, make like a heist room where you somehow formulate the objective is to like get an object and get out. Like that would be really fun.
Do you want to drop everything and create heist rooms? I think we just hit a gold mine here.
New business, heist room.
Cancel the podcast. Something I actually want to talk about that came as like a pretty interesting parallel between these two movies is that at their core, both of these are essentially movies about obsession.
Absolutely.
It's super clear in Kick-Ass that they are obsession from Big Daddy's perspective on getting revenge or, finding solace. From Kick-Ass's perspective, as it is this obsession with heroism.
Also being horny.
Yeah. You're right.
Dude jerks off a lot.
There was a lot of jerking off in these movies.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
And then in National Treasure, like very apparently, there's this obsession with national identity. There's this obsession with this treasure, more specifically from a character motivation perspective. And I just think that the almighty randomizer placing two movies that are centrally about being obsessive or passionate about something is really, really interesting to me.
Part of me has to wonder if it's Nick Cage that's the common denominator here. If it's like
probably
would people feel the obsession part as much as if someone other than Nick Cage does? And like in other movies too, and we'll get into it as we get into this bracket, he's such a great character to like, I really think he's making a lot of the choices that he's making these movies have these themes front and center. You know what I mean?
It definitely does work that way a little bit, but I think it's also, at least for these two movies, 100% in the writing of the characters. Because in National Treasure, you have his dad is ashamed of him because his whole family is obsessed with the treasure, versus Kick-Ass, the character is very much obsessed with righting the wrongs done to him and his wife. Yeah. I think he brings a new layer to it, but it's definitely in both of these movies without him.
There's some truth to that.
One of my biggest things, and I've been trying to think, because every single bracket we have the themes, and I have to think of like what's my criteria going to be going forward. And I always try to make it something kind of like different or weird, or like matching the theme as much as possible. And for me, if it's Nick Cage, I really want to look at these films. Cagisms. I don't think I should say Cagisms, but
I love like the term Cagism. Let's coin Cagism. This is not a Nicolas Cage bracket. This is the Cagism bracket.
So but there are some really good. There are two Cagisms. There are two Cagisms in both these movies that I think are very strong. And I think that's where my comparison lies. One Cagism is the delivery of when Big Daddy is Big Daddy. His line delivery. This is one of his best line delivery movies ever. It's
his pseudo Adam West with Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Captain James Tiberius Kirk.
He should call himself Ass Kicked instead. Ha ha.
Right. So good.
Good move, ass kick. But then at the end, and one of the his delivery just in general is fantastic. But the end when he's, spoiler alert, burning alive. Also, yeah. Nick Cage tends to do that.
I wrote that down as a note that the biggest Nick Cage moment in the entire movie, from the perspective of wild Nick Cage stuff, is absolutely him screaming as he burns to death. Is
take cover, child. Now switch to the kryptonite.
So good. It's so good.
It's so
Nicolas
fucking
Cage
funny.
dies in 3 of the movies we talk about today. And I assume he's going to die in a lot more of the movies in this bracket too.
I love that you haven't seen a lot of these movies.
I have I've seen National Treasure and I've seen Kick-Ass. The only other Nick Cage movie in this bracket that I've seen is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is barely a Nicolas Cage movie. So I'm so excited.
So funny.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
The other Cagism on the other side that I want to get into real quick for National Treasure is the whole meme format of the and then it's the Pennsylvania has the word pen in it, and pen in it has the word we got to go to the Declaration of Independence. Literally, when I was a kid, I would have this bit with my friend James from school growing up, where we would do that, but with random ass words and shit. Like we used Kanye West. It was Kanye West is the one we would use a lot. Kanye West, wings of freedom, dominatrix, tricks are for kids are us, giraffes, long necks, MTV's dating show, M&M's, green M&M's, sexy, Sex in the City of Stars, Emma Stone, Stonewall Jackson, Andrew Jackson, racist because he didn't racist history, Declaration of Independence, we have to steal it, go. And then we'd like run away. We'd literally just run away from where that was our like exit, because you know people like to linger and like whenever you don't know how to leave a conversation.
A pretty long exit.
I really wanted to see how long you could do that for, Jake. I bet you could go quite a bit longer.
Go basically infinitely if you'd like.
That's just such a great Cagism, in this movie where it's so memeable. It's so like, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence after a long rant about nothing. I love it.
We're going to steal the Declaration of Independence. That's like an isolated line. It doesn't come immediately after an association. Not to say the associations aren't terrific, because I also took notes that if you like listen really closely to the way he does it and the way he like goes back and corrects himself when he says something dumb is just chef's kiss.
It's really fun. Those moments did not stand out to me when I was a kid watching this movie, but watching it back this time, such fun moments.
Another thing I just want to call out that I took a very specific note on because it was really funny was when they're descending down in National Treasure, descending down into the cavern or the under the chapel, I suppose. And that guy falls to his death. It's so funny because there's just it's like a really prolonged shot.
Yeah.
Of like they want to make it super clear this man is going to die and fall to his death. It's legitimately like 30 seconds long, it feels like, which just seems excessive.
There's another funny small part where you know how like they run in a graveyard and a guy's shooting at him in a graveyard?
Mm-hmm.
They're yelling his name, right? And his last name is Gates. And they're like, Gates. And as soon as he yells Gates, Nicolas Cage's character closes a gate behind him. And I don't know why it really impacted me, but it really got me. I literally like sat there and laughed super fucking hard. It probably wasn't on purpose, but for some reason, it just made me feel it was.
That's the genius of John Turteltaub.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah, he felt really proud about that one.
I wish he brought that genius in Sorcerer's Apprentice, but
something. Not necessarily a comparison, but something I want to call out as it's terrific per usual in this film. But Matthew Vaughn and action directing go together so well. And Kick-Ass is similarly terrific in terms of its action delivery. Ton of fun. He
did Kingsman, right? That's him?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
The camera's like very close in on a lot of the action. There's like a lot of weight and follow through. His action directing is typically really, really good. He also directed Stardust.
Oh my God, Stardust. I remember that movie.
Yeah, which is such a great movie.
Wow. Let's find a way to get Stardust on a bracket, guys. I want to watch it again.
Don't worry. I'm in due time. It'll come back up, I'm sure.
A scene that I want to really talk about in National Treasure, because I think it's one of the more iconic scenes, is when he actually steals the Declaration of Independence. And there's a moment that I want to key in on specifically. After he takes her champagne glass to get her fingerprints, and he pulls a little thing over his thumb and kind of rubs it in to get her fingerprints on it. That's got to be a condom, right? That little rubber thing.
No. There are finger condoms. It's a real, like, just for your finger.
For finger fucking?
No, I think they're for other like just protection things. I mean, I guess you could if you. This is proving what our nuance is about contraceptives. Sex education is important. Please engage in sex responsibly. But yeah, no, those are real things. The little finger covers. You know what I fucking hate in both of these movies? That is a comparison. I fucking hate the way jeans looked back then. I fucking hate it.
Just
I was so bothered
pants.
actually watching this movie, especially National Treasure. They were not even baggy. They just look bad. They just look like they're I don't know what it is. I hate it. I hate the way they're like actively. I don't even say that lightly. I really don't like it. And I'm wondering like that's probably how we're going to look to other people in like, 20, 30 years, but that wasn't that long ago. I don't know. I just hate the way the jeans look. They just looked awful.
So a lot of that just has to do with like the types of silhouette and cuts that were in vogue of the early 2000s.
I knew I could mention this because Matthew's a fashionista and you would have an actual answer.
I took notes on it through the movie because the big thing in the very beginning was spotting all those Canada Goose jackets. And I was like, ooh, Nick Cage got that drip. And then proceeded to make fun of his outfit choices for the whole rest of the movie. It was pretty good vibes. But yeah, I mean, it just comes down to like the baggier cuts were much more popular, particularly in men's clothing. And I personally have never understood it because even as like oversized cuts are like coming back into fashion, wider cropped legs,
something that looks
skinny.
Bad, man. There's just something that looks awful.
He wears like these big giant shirts. His blazers are all super oversized, except for his tux is decent fitted. Yeah, no, the fashion in this movie is
I don't even buy the baggy
era.
shirts or baggy clothes. I just hate their fucking jeans. I don't know how to explain it. I'm anti-jean in this movie. I don't know.
Something since we talked about Riley, something I want to call out. The Treasure was worth what, $10 billion, he said?
10 billion, yeah.
And Riley received 0.5%. Did they just do none of the math? Because with $500 million, I'm sure he could have bought himself whatever private jets he wanted. Him being like, oh, I could, like, I know some of it's clearly a joke of like he has way more like that, he hops in a very nice car and drives off. And like, that's the whole big joke of it. But like, he could buy a fleet of jets like he mentions he's mad he couldn't do with $500 million if he wanted to.
How did I know you would also do the math on this?
How much does a fleet of jets cost?
I don't know, like $12.
Yeah, probably.
Give or take.
It depends the size of jet that you're trying to purchase.
These are the things Matthew thinks about when watching a movie. Don't you dare include a math money total in your fucking movie. Matthew will dissect it and piece it to shreds. Also, don't wear those jeans ever again, please. That's just for me.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm sure he bought a nice Gulfstream that was like a nice like $25 million and then got himself the sweet cars in the house, etc. It was all a real terrific experience for him.
Yeah, we just have so much to say.
Your brain just gets lost in the sauce on the Nick Cage. I guess, should we vote?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
It's going to be a tough one.
I think there's so much more I wish we had talked. Like, I feel like we had no productive conversation.
But that's Nicolas Cage. Those are the Cagisms. It's the Cagisms, man.
I can throw my vote out there first, I think. I voted for National Treasure.
I also voted for National Treasure.
Wow. Well, guys, guess what? That's another unanimous vote for
that is
3.
Crazy to me that National Treasure got a unanimous vote. Like, I like the movie.
It's just, it has so much Cage soul in it.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
The Cagisms and Kick-Ass are amazing. Let's be honest. But my one complaint about Kick-Ass is there isn't enough Cage in it.
I wrote that down as I was watching it. I was like, he gives a brilliant yet short-lived Cage performance, and all I wish, because he dies at like, I want to say it's around the hour mark.
But it's so funny. Like, it's so fucking funny what he does in that movie.
He's real terrific. Him burning to death is a great Cage moment.
Take cover, child.
With that, let's get into these next movies. Jake, do you want to introduce Adaptation?
Oh boy, this matchup.
This matchup is a wild matchup, guys.
Yeah.
So full disclosure, this is my film boy, Oscar-y, like whatever pick. I think this is my first one that I've done is kind of like almost borderline pretentious.
Kill Bill Volume 2, my guy.
I view that as like a film bro, not a film.
Oh, not pretentious film. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, this is Adaptation. 2002, Spike Jonze of Her fame. I love that movie.
I feel like Spike Jonze is known for a lot of things that came before Her.
But I just love the movie Her. Fuck off my back. Basically, this is a movie where Nicolas Cage plays real-life screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, exploring a meta-narrative in screenwriting as a process as Charlie tries to adapt The Orchid Thief and get a grip on his own life. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a lot more. It's a wild little movie. But what do you guys think? Did either of you see this film before?
I had seen it a very long time ago, so rewatching it was essentially seeing it for the first time, because I think as a child, basically all of the meta elements went over my head.
Yeah.
As like I had scenes I remember, but like I could not remember the plot overall. Though getting the opportunity to really dig my teeth in as an educated adult, man.
Hey, we're not on Vampire's Kiss yet. You can't make that joke.
Man, this movie's super brilliant.
Yeah,
I had a terrific time with it. It's a wild ride through and through.
Yeah, I had never seen this movie and I knew absolutely nothing about it. And going into it, honestly, I saw what it was doing and I kind of didn't like it until the end, where it stops being so meta. Once they get
interesting.
Once he brings his brother into the hotel room and they're like, so how do we end it? And then it ends the movie. I enjoyed the ending, but I didn't really like the whole first half of it. I don't know.
Well, literally the guy, the critic, was like, as long as you give them a good ending, wow them an ending, they don't care about the movie.
Yeah.
And I took that as a note. That's literally like, wow, that's literally, I don't know. It's a really, I was so curious as to how you as a writer, Alex as a writer, guys, hire him. As a writer, like would view this film and would do it, because it's a frustrating film if you're a writer or any creative, honestly.
I think that was part of it, was just like seeing him fail to write things made me so angry because I saw so much of myself in it. And then I really liked the end because he breaks all the advice and it's like, oh, the alligator comes in and eats the guy. And that's like a Deus Ex Machina. And then like his brother's story about like the girl that he loved in high school is another Deus Ex Machina that solves the like emotional crisis of the movie, you know? I really enjoyed all of that. I just, I hated seeing myself in this movie.
You hated watching Nicolas Cage masturbate a lot to different things, to a book at one point, which was amazing.
I'll say it again. I hated seeing myself in this movie.
Oh, God.
All right. On the
sorry, we did not pitch you to give you a good transition there from masturbation to.
On the other side of this bracket, we've got Vampire's Kiss, released in, oh God, is that right? Make sure the things I wrote down are right, because I don't.
So let's keep talking about masturbation.
All right, released in 1988. Directed by Robert Bierman, Vampire's Kiss is the story of a publishing executive, Peter Lowe, played by Nicolas Cage, with a playboy's attitude and declining mental health, who believes he's been bitten by a vampire. And he becomes increasingly abusive towards his secretary as he deteriorates mentally. It is one of, if not the wildest performance that Cage gives in his filmography. It is in my opinion, the epitome of his self-named acting style, Novu Shamanic, I believe.
Yeah.
This is such a wild ride and such a wild performance from Cage. What did you guys think of this one?
This is The Room to me. I strongly feel like this is The Room of Nicolas Cage's career. Mm-hmm. Like, it should have that level of cult status in a way. Like, the slow zooms, the slow title cars, shots of the city, the embrace of camp. They linger for no reason, but it's interesting. I don't know why. Like, I really, not to the level of The Room. I think The Room has a lot of stuff that isn't interesting, and that's what makes it interesting. But oh my God, there's a review of Nicolas Cage's acting in this movie as being like the scorch of the earth of acting. No one can act on this anymore because acting is dead. Which I think is the most fucking hilarious review of someone who has continued having a fantastic career and embraced that review. Like, it's almost like a resilience of, I don't know. This has a lot of cagisms in it that are fantastic that we can get into. Yeah. But yeah, Alex, what do you think?
I had literally never heard of this movie And so going into it, how dare you guys have made me watch this movie and told me nothing about what it was. This was the absolute wildest ride. I went into this and I was like, oh, it's going to be like a rom-com. Nicolas Cage dates a vampire. And that in no way is what this movie was. Like, just this, even like his voice in this movie, he's like, maybe it's because now we're post-age Donald Trump with constant Donald Trump impressions, but that is all I could think of hearing the way he talked, talking like this and, you know, doing this thing. That's how he talks the whole movie. Just
it's just
he's so snooty the whole movie, and then he'll just suddenly throw out lines like, gotta take a piss. Like this movie is so ridiculous. I can't believe you made me watch this and didn't tell me anything about it.
Well, look forward to Face Off.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
This one's a little more insane. But premise-wise, Face Off is a wilder movie.
Yeah. Look forward to Mandy too. I mean, that's, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot I really my picks were very centered on I want Nick Cage at his cagiest. Like I want the insanity feed to me.
You want all the cagisms fed in your mouth.
Can we talk about that accent though? Because this is another movie where I wanted to bring this as like because the accent in Kick-Ass and the line delivery in Kick-Ass was like, you know, fantastic in its own right. But Vampire's Kiss, man, what the fuck is he doing? What the fuck is he doing? I just don't know. And like, okay, the scene, spoiler warning or whatever, when he's talking to the wall and it's juxtaposed with him talking to the psychologist therapist. What the fuck, man? It's just
it's so good. I love the added fact that like he has to justify his own behavior to the fictional version of the therapist. Like, oh yeah, like I murdered someone yesterday. And it's like, oh, people die all the time in the city. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like
I'll handle the FBI.
Yeah, what? Also, did you guys notice?
To rationalize, that's so funny.
Though, like when he calls her at her house, I guess, was she sleeping with the secretary's brother? Was that the secretary's brother who called her back to bed?
I am not actually sure.
It looked like it, because I also kind of noticed it, but I didn't double back just because whenever I watch this movie, it's a fever dream, and I just don't want to do the deep dive that it probably deserves. Because, oh God, it's a rabbit hole.
There's so much.
Something that's a really great like comparison with the two that I do want to get into is Vampire's Kiss and Adaptation both really break down barriers of their respective metas and genres.
Mm-hmm.
Because Vampire's Kiss is a horror movie. It's a horror movie. You know, it's camp or whatever, but like it's horror. And the whole writing the biopic in general of like adaptation and screenwriting in general, like they really... Also, guys, we really like satire, and we do that a lot in our picks. Like Kick-Ass did that as well, Shrek 2.
Yeah.
We like it a lot here at the Tough Cut. But what they both do is just, I don't know. They both really break down like what it means to be that kind of movie. But I don't think Vampire's Kiss does it as intentionally, or that's what it intended, as hardcore as Adaptation, or at least well thought out.
I think what Vampire's Kiss is getting at more, though, because it is, in my opinion, very clearly primarily intended to be a character study.
Yeah.
Of Nick Cage's character, and it is very much, I think, in a lot of ways, an exploration of this one character's mental health and mental illness. I think that the meta analysis present in Adaptation is significantly better than the one in Vampire's Kiss, but I also think that Vampire's Kiss is going at any meta themes a little bit more indirectly, whereas Adaptation, it's like that's the point, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that something that I really enjoy about both these movies, and this is, I really like the way that in Vampire's Kiss, I think the way that the horror genre is deconstructed is very much in a large part due to Nicolas Cage's performance, where I think that more is in part due to the writing in Adaptation, because like Nicolas Cage, like the way he holds his hands and like starts to slowly hunt, like it starts with his shoulders going up more and more, and then he hunches, and then he does this like weird waddle walk, which, by the way, funniest moment in the whole movie is when the woman that he eventually murders is totally into whatever he's doing, like as he walks into the club and like creeps towards her. She is so into it the whole time until the moment he reaches his hand down her shirt. She's like, no. But like, even when he's like stroking her face with his like weird clutched claw hand, it's, oh man, it's something.
My favorite moment in Vampire's Kiss, far and away, I think it's like one of the funniest scenes in maybe movies. Just Nicolas Cage, bloody, disheveled, running around with a broken piece of pallet. Kill me! Kill me! Kill me!
I'm a vampire. It's simple. Can you kill me?
It's
the cross,
amazing.
Please. You have to.
Much to your point, as you sort of described, Alex, I think that the ramping up of his deterioration and his like playing into being a vampire and how progressive it is,
it escalates so
shines
well
through in his performance. Yeah, it's done very, very effectively.
Another good comparison about both these movies is I think they both fall apart a lot in their final act in like very, and it's not even that I hate it, it's just that it definitely falls apart and becomes like a different kind of like thing, because like in Vampire's Kiss it's doing this whole build up of vampire or whatever, and then he attacks Alva and stuff, and then there's so much more of the movie that really fully is heavy-handed and breaks down into the psyche. Like it jumps the shark of like with the shrink seed and like showing you. I just almost wish it was less heavy-handed and more hinted.
Interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, like at least personally.
It was so obvious, like going into it, like the beginning half, there was like, oh, is this shrink? Like, oh, he's definitely going crazy or like whatever.
You'd like if it was like played a bit with a little bit more, whether or not it was reality, what was like he hallucinating, what was real sort of thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Having like never like seen this movie or even heard of it, I think I like the way that it works, because in the first half, you don't know for sure that it's like hallucination. You think like, oh, maybe this is a vampire and he's turning into a vampire.
Well, yeah, because they just showed up. They just randomly, yeah.
I thought he was going to turn into a vampire until you get the change, and then he shoots himself with the blanks, and that's what makes him really think he's turned into a vampire, is that he can't die, you know?
Would that still hurt you?
Well, there was like soot and gross stuff in his mouth he was spitting out.
Yeah, I think in real life,
I wrote that as a note. Like, I feel like shooting blanks, like he was deep throating that gun, would still hurt him a lot.
Yeah, I believe so in real life. But I'm sure, if we have any gun nuts in the audience that want to shoot us an email or a message on social media.
Any gun nuts want to shoot us an email? Look at you and your wordplay.
Okay. Yeah, at Tough Cut Pod, go ahead. Let us know. Do blanks hurt?
Also, guys, so many extras looked into the camera in Vampire's Kiss. You remember that old lady that was like, what's going on here? She looks at camera, leaves. What the fuck? What was that?
What about the mimes?
Yeah, what's up with those mimes outside his apartment? I took that down too. What are they doing there?
It is. I don't want to spoil any of it for anyone in the audience or either of you. Watch Vampire's Kiss now that you've seen it once. Watch it with the director's commentary. There's also one, I believe it's Nick Cage and the director doing commentary. All I'll say is the recollection they have of the filming process is very poor.
They probably were all on drugs. I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a treat.
Oof.
The way that he delivers lines in this movie is so absolutely wild. My favorite one is the tell them I'm in a meeting. It's just so ridiculous.
On the other side, though, Nicolas Cage doing Charlie Kaufman, and also there are two Nicolas Cages in this movie, guys.
Yeah, double Cage.
I haven't seen two characters played by the same person done this well since Gemini Man.
Stop it, leave. No, but I thought it, like, him playing off of himself was fantastic. And I thought him really, depicting really well. Charlie Kaufman was so good and so like, oh almost my God.
A narrative fun fact adaptation, because Donald Kaufman is given a writing credit for this movie, despite not existing, which makes him the only fictional character to have received an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is fucking fantastic. Yeah, this movie it only won one Oscar. Chris Cooper, the Florida Man, won an Oscar for this movie. But a lot of people got nominated for screenplay. Good job, Donald, wherever you're at.
Something, just talking about adaptation, that gets at, Alex, you mentioned that the ending is like what you like, the resolutional piece is what you enjoyed most. I think what's so interesting, particularly about the ending in this movie, is like the variance in types of interpretations you can take. Like, I think it's very evident that there is like the like sellout interpretation of Charlie is selling out by making a Donald film and just sort of like wrapping it up in an entertaining way for the audience. There's like the lampoonist, the parody approach of like, this is Charlie Kaufman, the actual person making a parody of screenwriting, of like what people will tell you to screenwrite, to like how to end a script, etc. And then more literal, hearkening to the line from the, don't know his official title, but like the screenwriting coach, that life is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Or fucking interesting. That like that, so thus this story must end in a literal way of life is interesting, despite it becoming a Donald film. Like, it's a movie with standout performances and like fantastic writing. So like even that literal approach to like ending a script still applies. It's so evident from things like that how incredible the meta narrative going on in this movie is. It's a real treat from that perspective.
It's crafted very well.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a cut where Katie Holmes was originally in this movie and then Maggie Gyllenhaal took her place?
That was the first movie.
Got set on fire and then okay.
Yeah.
Cool. As long as someone's getting set on fire. One more thing I'll say is I kind of got a lot of Joker vibes from Vampire's Kiss as well. That might be a rabbit hole to open up, but it's basically almost the same thing, except embracing the ludicrousness of it and not taking itself seriously.
Yeah.
With a psychiatrist, with mental health, with
imagining relationships with
people. Yeah, like it's literally
biting someone's neck. Do they do that in Joker? I bet they do that in Joker.
No? I don't think so.
Do you think that Todd Phillips just took credit when people said he was trying to, like, his homage was Taxi Driver, but really it was Vampire's Kiss? Because I think that might be more appropriate here.
The thing I get a ton of vibes from is American Psycho. A lot. I think that a lot of that movie is probably inspired by performances here of like the strung out salaryman deteriorating mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of very evident parallels that are pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I really do think I'm ready.
I think so too.
It's a tough one. And I truly do love both of these movies a lot. I have my reasonings going forward, but
my heart is so torn. I don't know. Part of me was like dreading this matchup a little bit just because I love them so much and I don't want to see one of them have to go now.
Yeah, same. No, but they're also a great first matchup. Like, I think they're playing with a lot of...
Oh, I mean, also the second half of the bracket, I think we will see...
So good, so funny.
It's just a great bracket. It's a great bracket.
Holy shit. Okay, so before we vote and while Matthew like takes his time or whatever, there's just one thing left I need to say just in case this film doesn't move on. I don't know if it will or won't because I don't know how everyone's going to vote. But guys, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
It's so good. It's so good.
That's a top tier Cagism. Like that is a top tier. And also this is where the wide-eyed zoom into his face thing comes in, right?
I had no idea.
Vampire's Kiss is the source of many a Cage meme.
Yeah. Cagism, please. Cagism, please.
Cagisms. Many Cagisms out there on the internet.
God, I wish I was a streamer so I could make that my notification. Many Cagisms. Just like
your
isolated.
Subscriber.
Yeah.
Many Cagisms. Hey, be on the lookout for the Tough Cut stream. That'll be your subscriber notification.
Yeah. All right, you ready? All right, I'll go first. I am going to go with, this is very hard, but I'm going with Adaptation. My reasoning is I love what Vampire's Kiss does for the genre and has so many Cagisms in it. I just think Adaptation is so smart, so well done. There's like 2 Nick Cages, so it's a lot to break down with him. Like, it's really good. But yeah, that's my pick.
I voted for Vampire's Kiss. It was just the energy was so good. Matt, how about you?
Caught in this moment yet again.
I feel like this happens to you a lot.
Yes, it does. I am going to vote for Adaptation.
No.
Wow.
Good movie.
So that means Adaptation is advancing. I think what it comes down to, part of it is I think there's so much more to to discuss with both these movies. To what Jake said, it's just such a smart movie in a lot of ways, and I want to dig into it a little bit more. I think it deserves a little more limelight. Whereas Vampire's Kiss will be with me forever.
Yeah. There's also, for me personally, not to get too whatever, I really do love the movie and the role he does, but there are some themes in Vampire's Kiss that I'm kind of uncomfortable with and I don't like, and it's hard to watch.
Very fair.
So that's why also Adaptation kind of took it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think
fun movies.
Some of that is the purpose of
the
deterioration of the character.
Absolutely.
And,
I agree.
If people haven't noticed, I haven't done it. I haven't done that much. This is the first bracket where it's really coming center stage, that I like movies that make people uncomfortable. I like to feel uncomfortable watching a movie.
Hey, I think watching Nicolas Cage masturbate a lot is grounds for that as well.
Speak for yourself.
Yep. Oh, nice.
With that, we've got National Treasure and Adaptation advancing. However, coming at you next in the first half of our episode, we're going to be coming at you with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse versus Face Off. Get excited.
Oh, wild matchup. Truly wild matchup.
In the second half of the episode, another wild matchup. The Wicker Man versus Mandy.
I'm dying. I can't wait for Alex to watch those two horror movies. It's going to be a fun time.
I can't wait for you to watch those three you haven't seen.
Yeah.
It's going to be wild. Maybe I'll do the same thing and watch all three of them again in the same day.
Holy shit, man.
That one will be pretty intense.
Oh, guys, remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. We leave funny movie reviews at Tough Cut Pod.
Reviews.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Wait, can I change my vote?
We really love hearing your guys' comments and feedback and interacting with us. So yeah, give us a follow and let's keep this going, guys. Nicolas Cage is a fun time.
And thank you guys so much for listening to the episodes, for interacting with us on social media, for getting invested in what wins a bracket. We love that. We love you so much for listening. That's right. We love you. And
most of you.
Take cover, child. Remember to subscribe to our podcast, guys.